Hello, everyone. So I've been praying about it and I'm doing a new thing. The Holy Spirit was like, why are you trying to record a video and then go and edit? Just do a live. So here I am. Good Boundaries and Goodbyes, Chapter 3. Chapter 3, it's not about the problems, it's what the problem represents. And so, getting straight to the point, what the problem represents, according to the author, is dysfunction. A lot of our problems are rooted in dysfunction. And her definition of dysfunction is dysfunction means things that aren't working correctly. In other words, something gets in the way of how things ought to be. Now, this is on page 29. If you have the book, it's where I am. And she used an example, and I'll just use, my own example. It's like you have something in your house that goes bad. In her case, it was the shower. There was something going on with the shower where she actually, it was an easy fix. And when the outside lights would click on, um, the hot water would turn off, something or the other. And so instead of fixing the problem, she found a whole bunch of workarounds where when people come to the house, she would say, hey, listen, if the corner lights are not on, you won't have any hot water, so on and so forth. Until her sister said to her one day, why don't you just get an electrician or a plumber and get it fixed? Like that would be fixed right away. But previous issues that she, because of previous issues that she had from her younger days with regards to finances and not being able to afford things, even though she was in a completely different space in her life, she was still looking at getting that simple thing fixed through the eyes of who she was or what she was able to do years before. And that's what dysfunction is. We begin to normalize things that should be considered as something is wrong. We accommodate it to the point that it becomes normal. So this was, I think, the highlight of chapter 3. I had already recorded like a 10-minute video for chapter 3. And I was like, ain't no way you're gonna post a 10-minute video on Facebook, girl. But that's just how good chapter 3 is. I just wish that we could just all read it together verbatim. But she says distortions of reality feed dysfunctions. Distortions of reality. So this is when what is not even supposed to be normal has become normal. And so what should be reality is completely distorted. Ignoring the issue increases the likelihood of dysfunction. This is when there are conversations that need to be had that are not had, things that need to be addressed are not addressed, and then it causes dysfunctions. And so this part here on page 30 that I have highlighted in blue says, in a relationship, when truth is manipulated, denied, or partially omitted for the sake of covering up behaviors that should be addressed, dysfunctions may not just be difficult, they may become destructive. We then run the risk of a pattern of wrongs being tolerated as acceptable because over time they start to feel less alarming, more acceptable, and eventually our version of normal. I'm certain that each of us could list off a million examples of this in so many different capacities. But just as a basic example that everyone may be able to relate to, it's like when we see a behavior in a little child, whether it's your child, a niece, nephew, a child at school, church, wherever it is, and there's a particular behavior that we know will be destructive to this child if it's not corrected. But a parent sees it as cute, sees it as okay. Now, everybody has their own way to raise their children, but we do know that there are some basic things. Like, it's not okay to go and bite another child. It's not okay to um, go and take another child's snack or something like that, right? So you have some parents that they don't see the problem or they ignore the problem, when at the end of the day, the problem is destructive. I mean, what can become destructive. And that simple example goes even, of course, we know much deeper, um, even as adults. So when truth is manipulated, denied, or partially omitted, even partially omitted. So I saw this example before with me and a group of friends in our younger days, where, like, you get with someone and you know everything ain't right, but when you're describing the person, you like skip over those parts of the person that you know ain't solid, and just use the good parts. It's the same thing. And here's the scary thing about it: it does no one any good. It doesn't do yourself any good, myself any good, by manipulating the truth, denying it, or omitting any parts of the truth. And it doesn't do the other person any justice, because what it does is it stops them from growing to their full capacity. Because when something could be called out, if it should be, or what how do I say this? If it's worth it, like, if me and you're in a relationship, this is something that I may need to call out now, because later on this will be destructive. But all in all, it all leads to dysfunction when we do not address these things. And so someone just sent me this yesterday, this quote. I thought it was just absolutely awesome. Normalize leaving people in whatever reality they have chosen. Now, that was not in the book, but she alluded to something similar when she talks about how, for so long she's tried to fix other people or change herself to accommodate others and avoid conflicts. But we have to get to a point where we realize, for some people, they choose to live in dysfunction. They choose to live in a distorted reality. And while it's sad and while we may want to help them, there comes to a point where we have to let it go. And for me, God revealed that to me in Matthew chapter 18, verse 15 and 17. Um, and if you're not familiar with that, go and read it. It's the words of Jesus giving us instructions on how to deal with, if a brother offended you, like, you go to them. If they don't hear you, you take a witness. If they don't hear you, you take it to the church. And he says after that, they will be like a heathen or a tax collector. Like, I'm not even trying to go into the deep spiritual ramifications of that. But even Jesus is saying, listen, at some point, you have to let it go. You have to cut it off. We're not going to hate anybody, but boundaries. We have to step back for our own sanity. So that was my review of chapter 3. Thank you all so much for staying along for the journey. It's going slower than I expected, but I'm here and we will continue. I will see you on another live. Thank you.